For years, Prince Harry insisted he was happier outside the royal family. He moved to California. He signed major media deals. He spoke openly about his struggles with royal life. And yet, in recent months, a surprising question has started appearing everywhere. What if Harry wants back in? Tonight, we're looking at the reports, the rumors, the royal reactions, and one detail that many people seem to be overlooking. Because if these reports are true, the bigger question isn't whether Harry wants to return. The bigger question is whether there is still anything left for him to return to. And by the end of this video, you'll see why some royal watchers believe the answer may be very different from what Harry expected. The first thing that makes this story so interesting is that it comes at a very different moment in Harry's life. When Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duties in 2020, the message seemed clear. They wanted independence. They wanted freedom. They wanted a new life outside the institution. At the time, many people believed the couple were turning the page completely. California became their new home. New business ventures followed. High-profile interviews made headlines around the world. And for a while, it appeared that Harry had no interest in looking back. But fast forward to today, and the conversation sounds very different. Suddenly, royal commentators, newspaper columnists, and longtime royal watchers are asking whether Harry is beginning to miss parts of the life he left behind. And that raises an uncomfortable question. If leaving the royal family was supposed to solve so many problems, why are people now discussing the possibility of Harry wanting some form of connection restored? Part of the answer may lie in something that often gets overlooked. Being a member of the royal family is not just a job. It is an identity. Harry spent his entire life inside that world. The traditions, the ceremonies, the military events, the charitable work, the public duties. These weren't occasional activities. They were his reality from childhood. Even when he criticized aspects of royal life, it remained the environment he understood best. That is why some observers believe the transition may have been more difficult than it first appeared. Starting over sounds exciting in theory. In practice, building an entirely new role for yourself can take years. And unlike most people changing careers, Harry had to do it while the entire world watched. Then there is a question of purpose. Before leaving the monarchy, Harry was heavily involved in military charities, veterans' causes, and public service initiatives. Many people associated him with those projects more than they associated him with royal titles. The Invictus Games became one of his most recognized achievements. Veterans respected him. Charity supporters admired his dedication. And even many critics acknowledged that his work in that area had genuine impact. But over the last few years, some royal commentators have argued that Harry's public image has become less clearly defined. Instead of being known primarily for service, he has often found himself in headlines about family disputes, media projects, and royal tensions. Whether that perception is fair or not is open to debate, but perception matters. And some people believe Harry may be asking himself what kind of legacy he wants to leave behind. Another factor is the simple reality of time. The further we move away from 2020, the more the emotional intensity of those events begins to fade. Anger cools. Perspectives change. Priorities evolve. What seemed impossible 5 years ago can start to look very different today. This happens in families all the time. Relationships break down. People stop speaking. Then eventually someone wonders whether the conflict is worth carrying forever. Royal families are no different. The only difference is that most family disagreements don't become global news stories. But here's where the story takes an interesting turn. Even if Harry wanted closer ties with the royal family, that doesn't automatically mean the royal family wants the same thing. And this is where many royal analysts believe the real challenge begins. Because while Harry's life has changed dramatically over the past few years, the monarchy has changed too. King Charles has continued his reign. Prince William has taken on even greater responsibilities. New priorities have emerged. New routines have formed. And institutions like families adapt when people leave. The longer someone is gone, the harder it can be to simply step back into the same place they once occupied. That's why some royal commentators believe the question isn't whether Harry could ever repair relationships. The question is what those repaired relationships would actually look like. Would it mean private family conversations, occasional visits, A warmer relationship behind the scenes? Or are people imagining something much bigger than what is realistically possible? Because there is a huge difference between reconciliation and restoration. Reconciliation means improving relationships. Restoration implies returning to a previous role. And many observers believe those are two completely different conversations. Then there is Prince William. No discussion about Harry's future can avoid this subject. For years, the relationship between the brothers has been one of the most talked about stories in the royal family. Reports of disagreements, misunderstandings, and growing distance have dominated headlines. Yet despite all the speculation, very few people actually know what happens behind closed doors. What the public sees are occasional reports, anonymous sources, and endless analysis. But whatever the true state of the relationship may be, most royal watchers agree on one thing. Any long-term reconciliation would be much easier if the brothers could find common ground again. And that may prove to be one of the biggest challenges of all. At this point, some viewers may be wondering whether the media is exaggerating the entire story. After all, reports about royal reconciliation appear regularly. Every few months, there seems to be another headline suggesting peace talks, secret meetings, or possible breakthroughs. So, why are people paying attention this time? The answer may have less to do with any single report and more to do with a pattern. Over recent months, several royal commentators have noticed that Harry appears to be focusing more on the areas that once defined his public role: charity work, veterans' causes, and public service. Whether intentional or not, that shift has sparked renewed discussion about where he sees his future. And this is where public opinion becomes especially fascinating, because reactions are deeply divided. Some people believe Harry deserves an opportunity to rebuild relationships with his family. They argue that families should find ways to move forward. They point out that disagreements happen in every family, and that time often creates opportunities for healing. Others take a very different view. They believe too much has happened. Too many interviews, too many accusations, too many public disagreements. From their perspective, trust, once broken, is not easily restored. And that difference in opinion explains why this topic continues generating such strong reactions. Meanwhile, Harry finds himself in a unique position. Few people in modern history have walked away from such a prominent role and then faced years of public discussion about whether they regret the decision. Every public appearance becomes part of the debate. Every interview becomes part of the debate. Even silence becomes part of the debate. Supporters see a man building a new life. Critics see someone struggling to replace what he left behind. The truth may be more complicated than either side wants to admit. Perhaps the most important thing to remember is that nobody outside the people directly involved truly knows what conversations are taking place behind the scenes. Media reports can offer clues. Royal experts can share opinions. Commentators can make predictions. But families are complicated. Decisions are personal. And many of the most important discussions happen away from cameras, headlines, and public speculation. That is why so many predictions about the royal family eventually prove wrong. The public sees only part of the picture. Yet despite all that uncertainty, one thing seems clear. The story of Prince Harry and the royal family is far from over. Whether future chapters involve reconciliation, continued distance, or something in between remains to be seen. But the fact that people are still asking these questions years later shows how much interest remains. Because beneath the headlines and the controversy lies a story that many people find relatable. Family relationships, difficult choices, regret, loyalty, forgiveness. Those themes resonate whether someone is a prince or an ordinary person. And that may be the biggest reason the story refuses to disappear. It isn't just about royalty. It isn't just about headlines. It's about what happens when life takes an unexpected turn, and people are left wondering whether certain doors can ever truly be reopened. Some believe Harry is looking back. Others believe he's simply moving forward in a different way. But until more information emerges, the debate will continue. And as always with royal stories, the next chapter could arrive when people least expect it. But perhaps the biggest obstacle isn't whether Harry wants a better relationship with the royal family. The biggest obstacle may be trust, because trust is incredibly difficult to rebuild once it has been damaged. Over the past few years, interviews, documentaries, books, and public comments have created tensions that are impossible to ignore. Some royal supporters believe the family would naturally be cautious moving forward, not necessarily because they don't care about Harry, but because private family conversations becoming public has been one of the biggest concerns raised by critics. And that creates a difficult situation. Family members may want peace, but they may also want privacy. Finding a balance between those two things is easier said than done. Then there's another reality many people forget. The royal family is not just a family. It is also an institution. Decisions are often influenced by public perception, tradition, and long-term stability. That means even if personal relationships improve behind closed doors, it doesn't automatically mean public roles would change. Many royal analysts believe those are completely separate issues. In other words, reconciliation may be possible, but a return to royal duties is a very different conversation altogether. And that's why so many experts remain divided on what Harry's future relationship with the monarchy might look like. So where does all of this leave Prince Harry? The truth is that nobody outside the royal family knows for certain. Some commentators believe Harry misses parts of his former life. Others believe the media is simply creating another royal narrative. What we do know is that years after stepping away, people are still asking the same question. Was leaving the royal family the right decision? And perhaps the fact that the question continues to be asked tells us everything we need to know. Because if the answer were obvious, the debate would have ended long ago. For now, Harry remains one of the most talked about figures in the world. Every appearance generates headlines. Every report sparks discussion. And every new development adds another chapter to a story that millions of people continue to follow. Whether reconciliation happens or not, one thing is certain. The relationship between Prince Harry and the royal family remains one of the most fascinating stories in modern royal history. And judging by the amount of attention it still receives, this story is far from over. But what do you think? Does Prince Harry genuinely want closer ties with the royal family again? Or is the media reading too much into the situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's royal update, don't forget to subscribe to Sussex Tea. Turn on notifications and join us for more royal family news, Meghan Markle updates, and the biggest royal stories making headlines around the world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.